Welcome back, everyone. Today, we've got another great guest join us. We're joined by Brian Smith, the co-founder and chief product officer at ESP Logistics Technology. Brian, welcome to the show.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on. Would you mind just kicking us off, telling us a little bit about yourself and what you guys do at ESP?
Sure. So I'm Brian. I've been in technology now for over 20 years. My area of emphasis is on what's called spatial awareness or location analytics. At ESP, we're a platform as a service that offers cross mode integrations and optimization within our platform. And what that means is that we look at all the nodes of the supply chain, so all the different areas in which the product moves through the supply chain. We help optimize individual areas as well as optimizing those connections as well. So we try to look holistically at the movements that drive the notion or the movement of a good, and how to optimize those collectively.
Mm, very cool. And Brian, there's millions of SaaS solutions out there. There's millions of different opportunities you could have gone after. What made you pick this space as where you wanted to operate in?
Yeah, so we looked at the supply chain space and some of the softwares that were out there, and they seem to focus a good bit on kind of the what called a beneficial cargo owner, so the large organizations that own the cargo. They didn't really focus on the operators of the movements. And so what ESP did is we looked at how do we focus on the operations? How do we focus on the people that are actually doing the work, and not the owners of the goods? That was done intentionally because it gives us an opportunity to work with the operators, but it also actually enables us to, really get to where our ultimate goal is, and it's in that optimization aspect of things. And optimization happens through artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities that do require very very good data, very standardized, very high quality data. And so by taking the approach that we took, it allowed us to really work with the operators and collect that data. And within ESP, what we do is we have some proprietary technology that does data cleansing kind of on the fly. Which allows us to then consume that data and standardize it within our platform so that it can be used with analytics and kind of that cross nodal exchange.
Mm,
So
nice. And how long ago did you guys kick this company off? What year did you co-found the company?
we started in 2023 was our first year, so we're just about 2 years old. And we've been working in primarily Southern California and all across the West Coast. We have customers that basically run what are called third-party logistics providers, that do movements in and around the terminals that are called drayage movements, and we work with companies all up and down the West Coast currently.
Mm, nice. And over the last 2 years, there's obviously been a lot of shifts in terms of technology trends. How are you guys kind of navigating the landscape at this point in time?
It's interesting when we built our platform, we kind of tried to stay ahead of the curve, if you will. We had a microservices-based platform that was in existence for a while now. The history of our platform actually came from a previous company. When we built ESP, we took the technology from the previous company to the new company. And so the technology's actually been in use now for over 10 years, operating in all types of spaces, including the aviation space, where we do basically flight operations for helicopter companies globally. Um, and what we were able to do at the onset of this is really sit down and design a platform that allowed us to be very future proofed. And what do we mean by that is we're able to adjust things very rapidly. The microservices-based design process allows us to take and remove things and insert new types of things into the platform, new types of functionality, new types of technology into the platform when needed. So we've been very fortunate in the sense that we were able to future-proof our platform at the onset, and that's allowed us to kind of work very very horizontally with the massive changes that take place in technology on a yearly basis.
Hmm, nice. And I know you're coming in as the chief product officer. A lot of SaaS companies, that's one challenge they face is maybe evaluating product market fit, for example.
Uh-huh.
How have you gone about kind of laying the groundwork for that, especially being a newer company, but with
Yeah.
pairing it with an older technology?
Surely the most challenging of anything in any kind of startup. Well, I mean that in cash flow. When you look at any type of a startup, uh, I think you probably find that most people kind of struggle with finances and then also market fit. Um, we did struggle with that at the beginning, trying to do too much, too fast, and it does set you back a little bit, no doubt. What we were able to do is we were able to work with a lot of really good partners. And when I say the word partner, they're customers. We view them as partners. And what we were able to do is we were able to take the baseline of our platform. And the great thing about the baseline of our platform is we focus on, a couple things in particular. We focus on consuming real-time data and consuming business data. We look at standardizing that data and we look at analyzing that data. But those are really what the core of what our platform does, fundamentally. And then what we do is we look at how do we take that data and make workflow processes out of it. And really what that means is how do we give the users of our system the result sets that they need? Okay. And so by working with our partners, what we were able to do is really kind of understand what the ins and outs of the result sets that are needed by the space really is. What are we really trying to get to here? What does a yard management system really need to do? Right? How does billing work inside a yard management? Are there things being missed? Those types of things. And what that gives us is that really gave us insight into kind of the challenges that these companies face on a daily basis. And then it also gave us insight on the type of people that are using the software, which is extremely important to us, right? Because understanding who the people are that are using the software helps you design software that they're going to use. Okay, and so we were very fortunate in having a series of partners that helped us kind of develop into what our market fit is today.
Hmm. And as you're navigating that product market fit stage, early days, how did you go about educating your early customers about kind of the value that you're bringing to the table?
Yeah, and again, kind of challenging in the sense there's something called conceptual sales out there where you're really trying to sell a concept, right? And when you have such a lofty ambition as we did with this, what we called the glass pipeline, which was this kind of interoperable, analytics platform, across those nodes, what you really need to understand is that in order to get to that utopian state, you need to have that baseline data where, in a quality state. This is with any type of analytic, any type of AI. Everybody wants to jump to like this silver bullet, this artificial intelligence, but AI is only as good as the data that you're able to consume. It's only as good as the cleansing of that data and the ability for you to have quality data that's going to drive the analytics, right? So what we wanted to focus on is driving the analytics um, from providing the customer value, kind of at the onset. So a couple of things that we do very well right now is we have a very intuitive, modern yard management system We don't really call it a yard management system. We call it a yard toolkit because it provides all that functionality, but it provides a series of additional capabilities that look beyond just the management of the yard. It looks at how the yard plays with the drayage movements, with the assets that are moving the containers. It looks at how does a container act when it gets on the yard? How does a container act when it leaves the yard? Those types of things. Really kind of focusing on, again, the movement of the asset, but most importantly, focusing on what the human that's using the software really needs from that information.
Mm-hmm. I like it. And over 2025, as you've been growing the company, obviously it's kicked off 2 years ago. So this
hmm
last year, how have how's the landscape been in terms of like the competitive landscape? Is there any trends or challenges or even opportunities that you've seen in the space that you've taken advantage of?
So, when I was younger, I always wondered why my father watched the news, right? Because it was like, how does the news affect me on a daily basis? Well, I can tell you what, the tariffs affected us
Mhm.
on a daily basis. Um, Definitely slowed down the movement of goods from the outside world in. So you started seeing shifts in things nearshoring or onshoring of goods, of production, those types of movements, those types of things from a standpoint of the supply chain space. So we did see a slowdown in movement of goods that came offshore into the country. And when you focus on that kind of grouping, those operators that are the people that are moving those goods, obviously you'll see a slowdown. And that's what we saw from a standpoint of the business aspect of what's going on in the supply chain right now. That has opened up, and we expect it to open up into 26 as well, moving forward. On the technology side, again, everybody's jumping into the artificial intelligence aspect of it. And of course that's going to continue to be a trend. I just like to forewarn people that, again, you have to make sure that the data is in a quality spot. You have to make sure you're understanding what the data value is, what the business has, acumen is, and what you're really trying to do with AI.
Mhm.
What we're really trying to get out of it, what type of result sets that we're really trying to get out of it, what we're trying to do with the data, and where we're trying to make those improvements. Because if you're just going and searching for AI as a solution to something, it's probably not going to work for you.
Mhm. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a tool. It's not the holy grail.
Exactly.
You gotta kind of plug and play where it's appropriate to do so.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Brian, speaking of the tariffs, we'll talk about at a high level. As a co-founder, as an entrepreneur, how do you develop the mindset to navigate challenges like that when it's something that might be perceived as out of your control? How do you kind of take that internally and navigate in a way that you can control, if that makes sense?
Well, I think, that just like anything else that's a negative, you have to turn into opportunity as you go through, right? And look at what you can control. And what we can control is putting out great product, and that's what we do. Um, you know, Sometimes you can't get caught up in the ins and outs of what's going on, but you can prepare to release and continue to provide great product to your customers. We're seeing improvements with our one customer of we estimate that they were not billing somewhere between a half and $1.2 million a year is something that we found out based on the information and the data and the work that we've been doing with them. And we've resolved that so that moving forward, there's going to be, again, automation that helps them understand what needs to be billed, that makes sure that they're not missing those billings. So when the tariffs came, we had to kind of switch gears and look at, okay, what are the things that we can in fact help the customer with, right? I wrote a blog where it said we're saving monies. Well, I forget how I titled it, something I'll paraphrase, but where saving money is more important than making money. And that's really where they were at this year is how do we save money How do we continue our operations, and how do we become more efficient while we're saving the money? And that's what the objective of our platform is. Again, is to help people navigate through their daily workflows seamlessly, more efficiently, so that they can be better at what they do, and their companies can be more efficient and make more money.
Mm, I like it. And if somebody out there listening right now, what makes them like a good fit for your solution? What makes them not a good fit if they'd like to get in contact with you?
Yeah, sure, sure. So, a good fit is anybody that is looking, anybody in the supply chain space or really any space, that has really, where we start a lot of our customers out is what we call a control tower, where you have a series of, third party or ingrown kind of, um, applications that you need to use. So oftentimes, in the supply chain space, if I'm a dispatcher, I might have 3 or 4 softwares that I have to look at to properly dispatch somebody. We bring all that together so you only have one,
Mhm.
right? That would be the first thing. The second thing is anybody that's looking at mastering or wanting to become more efficient with their movements in and around ports, terminals, yards, and specifically within drayage. That's something else that we can help with tremendously. And then thirdly, like I said, we have a very, very, very good yard management system right now. And if anybody's looking for a movement in their yard management system, this thing includes billing, it includes yard goat capabilities, it includes OCR, it includes QR coding for faster ins and outs. We've actually seen turn times with our one customer go from over 400 minutes to under 50 minutes now for their yard. So
Mm.
we're really showing a lot of efficiencies within our platform.
Yeah, sounds like great value. And Brian, we've talked a little bit about what you've seen in 2025 and what you've seen as you've grown the company over the past couple of years. Looking forward into 2026, what's the goal for ESP? What's the vision right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think growth is the number one vision right now is to continue to move our platform into new 3PLs and other operators as we move forward. In 2026, you can expect to see a lot more optimizations coming out of our company, more standardized optimizations, things that will be very specific to the supply chain, things that will be very specific to this multi-nodal kind of integration. So 2026 will really be, now that we've spent the last couple of years kind of collecting data, standardizing upon that data. 2026 is now the time to start using the data.
Mm, I like it. I like it. And looking back, Brian, this is one of my favorite questions to ask founders at the end of the podcast. If there was one lesson you wish you learned a little earlier since starting your company or just throughout your life, what would be one piece of advice you could give to people listening that you wish you learned a little earlier?
It's really hard. Um, there's a reason why people don't start businesses. That it's hard. It's not for the faint at heart. It's something that you're going to think about 24/7, 365 days a year, because that's where you'll be. Um, so my biggest thing would be understand this is not a simple process. Nothing's an overnight success. There's no such thing. And it's going to and it's hard work to navigate through this. It's hard work to lead through these types of things, and it's very, very challenging to, really just kind of keep your head up. So be prepared for those things. Be certain that you have kind of that self confidence to get yourself through those types of things. And always, always, always remember that, it is a job,
Mhm.
and that you have your family, you have your life, and those are important as well. So don't ever dive too much into one thing and forget about everything else.
Wise words. I like it. And Brian, that's pretty much all I've got for you today. I'll be sure to tag your LinkedIn and ESP's website down in the description, but is there
Awesome.
anywhere else you'd like people to connect with you on? Or are those the main two?
Yeah, those are the main two. That would be perfect. You can find me on LinkedIn or on the website.
Yeah, perfect. I'll tag those both down in the description. And for everybody tuning in, thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for giving us your attention. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. And Brian, one last thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Oliver. Appreciate it.